This is Bumper to Bumper, the car show. Drive in anxious and cruise out confident. With the best automotive information for your vehicle. And now your hosts, Matt Allen and Dave Riccio.
Wow, that feels different. This reminds me of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Wasn't this the music they were playing in Doobie's car?
I don't know. I don't watch.
From the airport?
You know.
Oh,
that
man.
could have been, yeah.
Doobie's Taxi.
Sammy Hagar.
Anyway, good morning and welcome to Bumper Radio. I am Dave Riccio here along with Matt Allen, and together we are your KTAR car guys, heard every Saturday from 11 to noon. At Bumper to Bumper Radio, we're helping you, the motoring public, have a better overall car experience. So if you've got car questions, we've got car answers, so we encourage you to give us a call at 602-277-5827, 602-277-KTAR. And as always, you can text us at 411-923. Don't be shy. And today on the Bumper to Bumper Roadmap, fact or fiction, open phones and text, of course, and how to avoid costly auto repair. Matt, you were telling me something interesting about a Toyota that you had read about in the news. Fill me in.
Well, there's a Toyota gentleman in, I think, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. He traded his 2007 Tundra in. It has 1 million miles on the truck. And apparently, doing some math here, it's kind of interesting. He says he's had 117 visits to the repair shop, which if you do the math is only about every 8,500 miles. So he must be doing something special with the oil and really being on top of things. But then again, you start reading it. How can you drive 1 million miles in 9 years?
Compulsive.
Well, I can see going on an 8,500 mile oil change there because you're in the shop so often. I mean, it's 3 months, 3,000 miles. Well, in his case, it's 3 months, 8,500 miles. 8,500 miles. But they talk about some of his maintenance history, and he's never had a breakdown. And he's never had extraordinary repairs, original transmission, original engine, original drivetrain components. It reminds me of a customer I had at Virginia Auto Service. I so wish this guy wouldn't have sold the car. We always took care of the car. We're the only ones that ever worked on it. 355,000 miles. This 4Runner was perfect. The guy got rid of it. I'm like, what are you doing? I would have bought it.
Oh,
you know
yeah.
what I mean? So you can – now this is an anomaly. I mean, that car – You start talking this million mile Toyota.
That's 50 times around the world.
That was
a little bit of quick math.
But those are easy miles. Those are highway miles. That's a lot different than driving around town and opening the door and closing the door and doing 3 trips a day and loading kids up. I mean, that's a lot of windshield time just going straight down the road, living the easy life. But you can still do that with your car, and that's what we want to talk about is how do we avoid big repairs?
Well, the big repairs would be, we talk about the engine. That could be a big repair. The transmission, that's a big repair. How do we stay out of that stuff? And then the other thing, too, because I think it's a little subjective, what the heck is a costly auto repair? And sometimes I think people are surprised or startled by the cost of just maintenance on their car. And I think that's the expectation is in the wrong place. I mean, these things cost $40,000-$50,000. How much is it going to cost to take care of the thing? It's not, people they're like, really? A timing belt is $1,000? I mean, it's shocking when you're talking to them, and their initial gut reaction is, oh my, the car's been perfect. Why would it need any money?
You guys, come on, 100,000 miles, I've never had to do anything. Now, suddenly it needs all this? No, not suddenly. This crept up, over the last 100,000 miles. But I guess if a guy driving a Land Rover got the maintenance bill off of a Honda Accord, that's a good day for him.
Yeah.
This guy driving the Honda Accord gets the maintenance bill pulling your Jag or Land Rover or something else out of the dealership. He's you got to pick him up off the floor. So I guess it's all relative as to where you are financially or anything like that. But regardless of what kind of car you have and what your finances are, you have to take care of the car. So again,
well, yeah, the skimping, how to avoid the costly auto repair is not skimping on maintenance, and it's super tempting. It's like, would I rather have this $200 in my pocket, or would I rather do these services that they're recommending to me? Well, of course, it's going to feel good to have the $200 in your pocket versus giving it to Matt,
right,
to service your car. But, it is, like the old Fram commercial, pay me now or pay me later. Kerry brought that to my attention. It is one of those things, if you avoid it, you're going to have the costly auto repair. It's like the radiator that the auto shop spots that's just starting to leak at the tank, or there's a little bit of a leak and a discoloration of the tank. We know that radiator is going to go out in the next 6 months, maybe the next month. We can change it now, or we can wait till it pops on the side of the road. When it pops you're going on the freeway, it pops. You may lose a head gasket. That's your costly auto repair that you don't want to, go into. So sometimes it's proactive. Hey, you know what? That radiator's on the fritz. Let's just take care of it now versus down the road. And we're coming, this is a good, in May here, we're getting ready to be 110 degrees out. If it's hot out and you don't like it, I guarantee your car does not like it. I mean, it is really being tortured. So if every time you go to the auto shop and they suggest something, they're just trying to sell me more stuff. In some cases, that's true, because some people are pretty overzealous on their sales, and it's really not your needs they're worried about. It's, hey, I got a quota to match here to meet. So if you're at that shop, you're at the wrong place. But if you're at a good quality shop where they're taking care of you, they make recommendations. Give them some serious consideration. Ask some questions if you're not sure. You don't want to, willy-nilly go spending money at the auto shop. But a lot of things that you get recommended are needed.
Yeah, and the part of the way that you can participate in this, I mean, people should really get familiar with their owner's manuals. All of us, I think, for the most part, deviate from that owner's manual. Arizona is a unique condition. So just because someone's recommending you something to you that's not on your owner's manual or is premature according to your owner's manual, you don't have to put up your guard and say, no, it's not like that. That's why we really encourage you to ask the questions, like you said, Dave. Get involved in the process. Have some understanding of what your car needs and what it's going to look like to take care of this car. It doesn't matter if you just bought the car yesterday, like your new Jeep, Dave, and you want to know what it's going to be like owning this car over the next 5 years, or you're just driving your car down the road right now. Maybe it's time to think, oh, wow, okay. I don't have a car repair budget necessarily, and maybe you're fortunate enough where you don't have to worry about your budget.
It's almost if you're going to have a car for 200,000 miles, it's almost like a bell curve.
Yeah.
As far as the expense. So, year 1, year 2, you don't really have any expense. But year 3, hey, I'm starting to put a set of tires on it, maybe a set of brakes. I'm no longer just doing oil changes. Maybe there's some other services that are coming in, like a transmission service and that type of thing. Maybe tires and alignment. So it's gonna kind of gradually go up. It's really gonna. People are surprised at 110,000 miles when the car asks money from them, and that's about when it does start asking for money.
And some of those we have to differentiate too between maintenance and repairs. And if you defer maintenance, let's talk about a cooling system, for example. You don't flush the thermostat. You don't keep a good pressure cap on it, which, by the way, is doing more than keeping pressure in. It's also keeping outside, air out and letting oxygen into the system and such. It really wants to be a sealed system. So if you prolong or defer the maintenance, now you have broken down repairs. And as your car ages, you can still do all the maintenance, the cooling flushes, the transmission services, the tune-ups, but there's not necessarily any maintenance for the ball joints and the control arm bushings. And so those are repairs that you're going to have in that 100,000 mile range. So there's some repairs you're just not going to avoid. They're wear and tear. But there's some repairs that you're going to create by not doing your maintenance.
Well, and one of those repairs that comes up, and I think about it, we're coming into battery season, May, and batteries are probably starting to die already. But you don't have to wait till your battery's dead to actually replace it. Some people, it's good. If your battery's 2-3 years old, you're starting to be on borrowed time with a battery, and so that's where at our shop we check batteries on every car that comes through. And sometimes I'll call people and I'll say, hey, your battery's testing weak or bad. They say, well, it still starts the car. Well, it may still start the car, but it's leaking acid all over the cables, and those cables are going to have to be replaced if we don't take care of that battery now. So you don't have to wait till you just go to the car and it goes click to get a new battery. If you want to, we talk about being proactive, and, you can save yourself tow, you can save yourself, because it's graduation time. You're going to be all dressed up, ready to go to graduation.
No place to go.
Your favorite nephew is graduating high school, and you get in the car and it goes click, and you're like, oh, man, now you're scrambling to figure out how you're going to get to this graduation. So anyway, it's a good time of year to be thinking about batteries. I know at our shop we use Interstate Battery, And Interstate Battery is the brand of choice. They got a great warranty, 2-year free replacement, and it goes as long as 72 months, I believe. So they're covered coast to coast nationwide. Interstate Battery. You can find out more about them at bumpertobumperradio.com. When we come back, we've got Tina, we've got Paul, we've got Ken, and a couple more lines open at 602-277-5827. You're listening to Matt and Dave, your KTAR car guys on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
There's nothing more important than family. Hi, Kurt Rock for Kurt's Auto Repair. Family owned and operated and Bumper to Bumper Radio preferred. We've been taking care of Valley families and their auto care needs with a perfect Better Business record for over 27 years. Come experience the difference our ASE Master Techs can make for you and your family at Kurt's Auto Repair. Just east of I-17 at 22nd Avenue and Bell Road, or online at mycarhurts.com. Gas or diesel, foreign or domestic. If your car hurts, take it to Kurt.
Trust. It's hard to earn and sometimes even harder to find. If you live or work in downtown Phoenix, Matt Allen's Virginia Auto Service is celebrating over 20 years of award-winning service at the corner of 7th Street and Virginia. Recognized as one of the best service shops in the country, their customers have come to trust Virginia Auto Service for its A-plus rating by the BBB, 2-year 24,000-mile warranties, and free transportation to and from your home or office. 20-plus years of earning your trust. Virginia Auto Service. They're serious about service.
Fix it or forget it. This is the show that'll help you decide what to do with your car. Bumper to Bumper Radio. KTAR News on 92.3 FM.
Fix it or forget it, you know? I guess maintain it, maybe. We're talking about maintaining your car today and how to avoid having these big, expensive repair bills. So fix it or forget it. I don't know. Let's just maintain it and keep it and enjoy it. So I'm Matt Allen with Dave Riccio, and every Saturday we are your KTAR car guys on Bumper to Bumper Radio. Again, just always here to help you with your car. Any questions, comments, concerns related to anything automotive, we're here to help you. You can call us at 602-277-5827. It's 602-277-KTAR. And if you like to text, you can certainly do that at 411-923. So again, out there driving, let's put together a budget for working on your car. Make sure that you have a good auto repair shop to go to. If you have one, stay there. If you're that orphan that bounces around, go to Bumper Radio. See if there's not one of our guys in your neighborhood that can help you take care of that car and walk you through some of these things. Because I tell you what, when you have a plan, you don't have stress. Stress comes when you don't have a budget, when you don't know anything about your car, when you're at a repair shop, you don't know anybody. It can be stressful. But if you have your place that you always go to, not going to be so stressed out.
Hey, well, let's go with Tina in Mesa. She's got a 2007 Chevy Avalanche 4x. Hey, how can we help you, Tina? You're on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Yeah, it's got around 84,000 miles, and recently, from when you start, there's a little bit of a like a catch or a jerk or a hard shift from wherever it goes when you're at a light in the first gear.
My question there would be: is it when you say when you're starting up? Is that like within the first 10 feet leaving the stop, or is that more? Okay.
Yes. Yes, it is, and I don't know if it's. My question is about the transmission flush.
Right. Well, you have all these descriptions, and I know, Dave, flush, that's like brushing your teeth before you go to the dentist. It's not going to get rid of the cavities, right? I mean, Dave, you're going to go into much more detail than that. But
well, that's the thing. We get a lot of phone calls. People say, hey, I need a transmission service. And we ask them if they're having a problem. We say on a scale of 1 to 10, how well does the transmission work? And they'll say 8. Well, when they say 8, we know there's something that needs to be diagnosed as opposed to just going after a transmission service. Because in my mind, two things come up when you say that. In the first 10 feet, we're feeling a clunk or a glitch. I'm thinking we're starting to have a dry slip yoke in your drive line, and we fix that all the time. And sometimes you'll feel it even coming up to a stop. The other thing that comes to mind if you get kind of a clunk or a glitch leaving a stop is a broken left motor mount. You leave a stop, the left side of the engine picks up a little bit further than it normally would, and then you're going to feel it settle back down as you leave a stop. And so those are the common descriptions I see for a dry slip yoke or a broken motor mount. So transmission for maintenance, we're talking about maintenance here today. Yeah, not a bad idea. It should be maintained. And I would say if you're at 80, 90,000 miles, wouldn't be over-aggressive to say you're on your second, maybe your third transmission service. So that needs to happen regardless, but you need to diagnose that little glitch that you're feeling, and it may not be anything wrong with the transmission at all. So before we jump to, hey, I think I'm going to do this, I think a good diagnosis is where I would start as opposed to just throwing the old transmission service at it.
Well, Dave, and I think something happens if someone, let's say there's not a transmission problem at all and you go service the transmission. Well, maybe you did or you didn't need it. And I guess you can't really over-service the transmission. You can't change the fluid too much. But let's pretend there was a problem and Tina takes this car somewhere and goes and has a service done, and now she brings it back to you and has perfectly good fluid. In some sense, haven't they got rid of some evidence?
Oh, that's what we're going to be looking for.
That fluid tells you a story. The transmission expert, like at Tri-City Transmission, can look at that fluid and know. But you've just maybe made that diagnosis or that test a little harder if you show up with clean fluid. Is there something to that?
True, yeah, because that's what we're going to look at. It is going to tell us a story. Sometimes we send the fluid out to a lab. To be honest with you, I'll actually taste it, and I can count the boron in there and the zinc and all that stuff. Just from a little taste on my fingertip. That's not true. but yeah, so
red sauce, Mr. Riccio.
I would say, for transmission especially, just don't go throwing a transmission service at it. If you're having an issue, we got to diagnose the issue. It may very well need maintenance, but we're always going to go to that issue first because, if we service your transmission and all of a sudden you still got the same clunk, you're not going to be very happy with us. But sometimes that's where I think people think, hey, got this going on. They try and get an idea for what it is, and then they go in for maintenances to try and fix the problem, but generally maintenances don't fix problems. There are some exceptions. You may have power steering that's noisy and maybe the fluid needs to be changed. That's a possibility, but I'd rather than, again, willy-nilly going and spending money on maintenance that we may or may not need, let's diagnose the problem. You may have chest pains because you got indigestion, or you may have chest pains because you're starting to have a heart attack. Yeah.
Tina, maybe the best solution, you're in Mesa, and that is just right next door to Tri-City Transmission in Tempe. So go to bumper-to-bumper-radio.com, and you'll find Tri-City Transmission there, and let them take care of you.
602-277-5827. Thanks, Tina, for the call. We're going to go with Paul in Scottsdale on a 2009 Chevy 3500 Express van. Hey, Paul, what are you hauling in that Express van?
Good morning. All kinds of things. It is a work truck, so it gets run pretty hard. Anyway, my problem is it started to, around town it's fine, but when I get on the freeway and it gets heated up, get off the freeway, shifting, when it shifts from first to second gear, the first time it happened I thought I got rear-ended. That's how hard it hit. And then it shifts hard going into second to third. And I took it into the shop. They plugged it in. They says a hard component in the transmission. You need to we need to rebuild the transmission. Now I'm an old points and plugs guy, so is it that easy to diagnose a new transmission just by a scanner?
Not really. I like to give points. I'm a points guy too. But it sounds to me like you're starting to have more than likely a torque converter clutch that's slipping. So it's not really going to show up driving around town, but you get out there on the freeway. It gives the computer long enough to see the error in the torque converter clutch, and it will do what we call is set a code. Now, I'm just spitballing here because this may not be the answer. You may have something else going on altogether, so don't take this to the bank. But so the transmission or the computer recognizes a slip. What it does to compensate for a slip is it goes into what we call maximum adaptation. So it opens up the line pressure through an electronic pressure control solenoid. So when you get off the freeway, man, that thing's going to shift like a brick. I mean, every time. You're going to notice it first to second the most because that's where you get the biggest inertia change. By the time you go from third gear to fourth gear, you're already cruising down the road, so you're not going to hardly notice the hard shift. But what happens is you're going to turn the car off that evening, you're going to get back in the next morning, and the problem's going to be gone. It's because that code or that fault is no longer active. So it could be something like a torque converter clutch. It could be something like a throttle position sensor causing the transmission to recognize a fault. So, that's why I say I'm spitballing, but I know on those 3500 vans we do an awful lot of torque converter repairs. But if someone's diagnosing it, they can look at the slip RPM. They can look at what speed the code's set at. There's more to it, and part of it is looking at the fluid, see what the fluid looks like. So if you feel comfortable in their diagnosis, it's not necessarily a new transmission, but it may just be a torque converter that it needs.
And he's hauling. 2009. It's 7 years old. It's a work truck. He said he uses it pretty hard. So maybe now's just the time as well. We talked a little bit last week, I think it was about diagnosis versus code checking, and most people are not going to come to the conclusion and condemn an expensive transmission sitting out in the parking lot just plugging the thing in. So you have to remember you have to be able to read that data, understand what it means, and do some more testing. Maybe they just did do a quick code check and just came up with some simple facts. It's got this code, it's got a lot of miles, we'll just build a new one.
Yeah, no, we always like to see two things before we make a decision on, condemning a transmission. A code is just one of those things. So I got to have something else to go along with it before I say you need a new transmission. So when we come back, we're taking your phone calls at 602-277-5827. You listen to Matt and Dave.
Arizona, an amazing state for outdoor recreation and exploration. Full of mountains, lakes, streams, forests, and of course, our beautiful deserts. Hunting, fishing, camping. If it's about the outdoors, we've got it covered. KTAR invites you to Get Outdoors with Mike Russell, today at noon. KTAR News on 92.3 FM and on every device with the KTAR app.
Here's what Carrie from Tempe had to say about her experience with Good Works Auto Repair.
As soon as you realize, I need to get some work done on my car, I'm sure the thought occurs to you that you're about to get taken for a ride. I used to share the same sentiment and wondered if the shop was going to make something up and have me spending hundreds of dollars instead of $30 I was planning on for a simple oil change. This is one of the reasons I will only go to Good Works Auto Repair. Because I trust them. Putting trust in an auto shop didn't come easily. It's been built over several visits with them doing exactly what was needed, not coercing me into unnecessary work. Ask them for an oil change and a safety inspection, they do just that. No baloney, list of filters, belts, and whatchamacallits that need replacing on my new car. Thank you, Good Works Auto Repair, for being there for me when I need you.
Appreciate the kind words. It's always a pleasure. Glenn Hayward here. Come experience what award-winning auto service should be. Good Works Auto Repair in Tempe, or visit us at goodworksautorepair.com.
Ouch! Being out of tune is no fun, and maybe even a little painful. Hi, this is Lee Weatherby, owner of Accurate Automotive in Mesa. At Accurate, we are a family-owned and operated one-stop automotive repair shop that specializes in building long-term relationships that are in tune with your needs, not ours. We've been recognized nationally as one of the top shops in the country, but for over 20 years, our priority has stayed focused on providing quality automotive service and repair at a fair price. I invite you to come in and see the difference an in-tune relationship can make for you and your car. With our free courtesy inspection, a $49 value, we feel it is well worth our investment in you because we believe good long-term relationships start early with your first walk through our doors. Accurate Automotive, home of friends serving friends, just off Broadway and Robson in Mesa since 1992. For more information, check us out online at accurateautomotiveaz.com today.
KTAR News, on air, 92.3 FM, online at KTAR.com, and on every device with the KTAR app. Arizona's breaking news and traffic, now.
KTAR News Time, 11:30. I'm Mike Sackley. A sports car exploded into flames this morning after colliding with another vehicle at 43rd Avenue in Glendale. Phoenix Fire says the driver of that sports car, was trapped in his vehicle. He had to be extricated by rescue crews. That driver's been transported to the hospital in serious condition. The driver and passengers in the other vehicle were taken to the hospital in stable condition. Well, Canada's Prime Minister says he doesn't think most Canadians comprehend the scope of the devastation caused caused by a massive wildfire in Alberta. Justin Trudeau took a helicopter tour to assess the damage yesterday. More than 88,000 people were forced to evacuate. And a Yum Valley brewery is racking up some prestigious awards.
We have been open for a year and a half.
Yet Davina Brewing Company near 67th Avenue in Bell was recently named the 2016 Arizona Brewery of the Year. And
the New York International Beer Competition gave us this year a bronze medal for our milk stout along with our Pilsner.
Chief Brew Officer Jared Dubina says the competition had nearly 400 beers and ciders from more than a dozen countries.
I think what makes us stand out is the fact that we're focusing on historical beers.
He also says they're equipped with a full kitchen. Jeremy Foster, KTAR News.
And now for a check on traffic in the RMEGold.com Traffic Center. Here's Mike Daniels.
Well, thanks, Mike. We do have a wreck off to the side, 10 westbound at 339th Avenue. In Scottsdale, we have a crash involving a bicycle at Cactus Road at 90th Street. A wreck involving a pedestrian at 67th Avenue north of Thomas to watch out for. And the intersection of 43rd Avenue and Glendale closed due to that serious accident. I'm Mike Daniels, KTAR News.
Sun and clouds for your Saturday with a high of 101. Partly cloudy tonight, the low 71, and sunny Sunday with a high of 94. Right now in Apache Junction, 94 degrees. Weather brought to you by Howard Air. Whether replace or repair, call Howard Air. Matt and Dave, KTAR's Car Guys on Bumper to Bumper. Back with you next. I'm Mike Sackley, KTAR News.
Come on. Really? You're passionate about golf, and when you're not playing, you're practicing. But swing after swing and bucket after bucket, you're still not getting better. Maybe it's time for a GolfTech swing evaluation to learn precisely where your swing needs work. And building better swings is what GolfTech's proven training system and certified coaches do every day.
Oh, yeah.
Now open in Shea and Scottsdale. Visit golftec.com.
Swing better. Play better. GolfTech.
Hi, I'm Roger Bland with the Automatic Transmission Rebuilders Association, ATRA. As a transmission industry advocate, I travel throughout North America, studying transmission shops, looking for the best of the best that our industry has to offer. Professionally, ethically run shops that are proud to display the ACRA logo. I was recently in Arizona because I had heard from more than one source that I had to check out Tri-City Transmission right here in Tempe. Folks, I've been in the transmission industry for over 25 years, and I'm here to tell you that Tri-City is the type of transmission shop we're proud to call an ATRA member. Not only does Tri-City Transmission meet the stringent code of ethics set forth for every member of the association, they also have an extraordinary approach to solving their customers' problems. You see, they don't just focus on what it is they produce, transmissions. Their true concern is about fixing your problem. And take it from me, that's a big difference.
To learn more about Tri-City Transmission, find them at tricitytransmission.com. That's tricitytransmission.com.
Trust. It's hard to earn and sometimes even harder to find. If you live or work in downtown Phoenix, Matt Allen's Virginia Auto Service is celebrating over 20 years of award-winning service at the corner of 7th Street and Virginia. Recognized as one of the best service shops in the country, their customers have come to trust Virginia Auto Service for its A+ rating by the BBB, 2-year 24,000-mile warranties, and free transportation to and from your home or office. 20+ years of earning your trust. Virginia Auto Service. They're serious about service.
He's going the distance. He's going for speed. She's all alone in a time of need.
Well, welcome back to Bumper Radio. I am Dave Riccio here along with Matt Allen, and we are hopefully helping you with your car. We're here every Saturday from 11 to noon. Other than the radio show, we are attached. Bumper to Bumper Radio is a network of basically approved shops that we believe in, that we know are good. You can find the list of shops at bumpertobumperradio.com. It's really a small little community. You know, in town there's white hats and black hats, and we got a lot of white hats in this group. There's other white hats that aren't part of the group, but these are people that we would feel comfortable sending you to get your car serviced and where you can feel safe and remove all that anxiety. And there are places where the owner's in the shop almost every day. A lot of times you're going to be able to find them. So if there ever is a problem, and it is auto repair, and problems do come up on occasion, you actually have a decision maker on premise, which is like a big deal.
Well, we're proud of our shops. I mean, many of them have our names on them, or it's something that we've built from the ground up. So it's really, that's the kind of shop you want to be in, really. I think so.
But you can find them at bumpertobumperradio.com.
And speaking of which, I mean, we're also a family, if you will. A lot of us shops, I mean, many of us are competitors in the same market. Many of us rely on each other. We talk to each other about tools and repairs and stuff like that. Someone's having a problem. And we had a very unfortunate circumstance this week. One of S&S Tires, which is owned by the Schlegels, Bob Schlegel, the founder of the company, passed away suddenly this week. And so, you know, the family mourns, the family of Bumper to Bumper Radio mourns the loss of Bob. He was a pillar in the community in Litchfield Park. You know, S&S Tire has their stores in the West Valley, and he is was a West Valley guy. Be sorely missed. Really a leader in the industry, a leader in the community, and so our thoughts and prayers are with the Schlegel family during this difficult time.
Yeah. Well, let's get to the phones. We are going to go with Ken. He's got a 2015 Kia Soul. How can we help you, Ken? You're on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Okay, well, I'll give you a little bit of background. I've always driven a lot. This car has 44,173 miles on it as of this moment. And I bought it new about 6 months ago, so I drive a lot. I do computer work, and I'm an Uber driver, and I've driven about 750 trips. I change my oil about every 3,000 to 5,000 miles. I always use synthetic oil, and I've done the recommended services from the dealer, and also I fill up almost every day.
Right.
And I get about roughly 30 miles to the gallon, and I use premium about once a week just to keep everything clean.
Right. So
my question is that when I hit about 35,000 miles, I started changing my own oil, and the last oil change. Now, keep in mind, I've worked on my cars for the most part throughout my life, and I'm 48. This last oil change, I started getting a little bit of oil leakage. Not much, but a little bit. And it seems to be leaking around the filter, but I'm not sure because of all the plastic stuff underneath. And I'm just wondering if you guys have run into that, if it's filter issue or
well, it's hard to say. And you know what happens when a lot of people do their oil change at home? It's not like the oil change that we do at the shop. You know, we have the ability to lift the car in the air. We have better access, better lines of sight, and most of all, we have the experience. So one common thing that I see do-it-yourselfers or people that change their own oil do, they don't change their drain plug gasket. It's a little washer. It's a crush washer that goes on the drain plug. A lot of shops don't change the drain plug gasket. They just put the old one on. Well, over time, those gaskets are going to wear out. They crush, and so you could get a leak there. People also almost always over-torque and tighten the oil drain plug. I mean, I have an OCD technician. He uses a torque wrench in every drain plug. I started looking at that, and I'm like, gosh, you know, I could turn that thing. I would have turned it 3/4.
Tight's good. A little tighter must be better.
I mean, I would have turned it 3/4 of a turn more. The other thing is the Kias are you know, there's an O-ring that's it's a cartridge filter. It's not a spin-on, so you've got to make sure that ring is clear, and you're not just changing the filter. You might have gone to the parts store and bought a filter, and someone might have pilfered the O-ring out of the box. So maybe use the old O-ring. You've got to clean it up. You've got to make sure that some oil is on it. It could be that the process that you did, you may have created a small leak, or you might just have a valve cover gasket or something else that has begun to leak. You know, the other thing, one thing that I picked up that you said you put premium gas in it once in a while to keep it clean. Don't waste your money. Just put all the detergents. You want to make sure you're using a top-tier fuel. So the only thing that's in that premium gas that you're spending more money on is more octane, which in actuality could be worse for your car, make it less efficient. So
make the fuel burn slower and maybe cause some detonation.
Yeah, so save your money and keep up the good maintenance, and I bet you'll enjoy that car.
Well, thanks for the call, Ken. We are going to go with Craig in Phoenix. It looks like he's got a GMC Envoy. How can we help you, Craig? You're on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Good morning, guys. Thanks. I got a 2004 Envoy with 160,000 miles. I've done my best to take care of it throughout the years, and it's been pretty much problem-free. We moved down to Phoenix from Utah last spring, and in the middle of summer, driving down the freeway one time, the temperature gauge started climbing and climbing and climbing. I was afraid I was going to overheat. So on my way home, I crank on the furnace, went on the windows, and took myself out, get home and limp along, and do my best. I changed out the thermostat in the car, and that seemed to fix it. I didn't have any other issues. Well, yesterday, driving down the freeway again, I didn't get the same overheat issue, but I noticed that that pyrometer started to creep up a little again, higher than it normally does. And with summer coming on, I'm kind of getting anxious. Is this thing going to overheat on me again? I'm not quite sure. Maybe some things to start checking, water pump, radiator flush, I don't know. With an older car, any thoughts you guys might have?
That's something I see that happens, Matt, from time to time when people they move from a nice, mild climate, and then they head down to Arizona and they all of a sudden have cooling system problems. Their hose is leaking. And when I think about a vehicle that's moving, from a cool climate here, I say, man, go get the rubber changed out. And that's going to be all hoses, rubber, belt, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Stuff that's not tortured as bad. At least have it looked at. I mean, that's, he's worried about that. Now, he had an overheat problem. He didn't necessarily diagnose it. He just went for that thermostat. Well, maybe it overheated because it was just a little bit low on coolant. Yeah. And through the process of changing the thermostat, maybe we get the thing filled up all the way. We don't really know why it overheated that time.
I would argue a little bit different, though. If all those belts and hoses just came out of a different environment, why would you change them? Change the ones that have been here for a long time. So, by theory, they should be in great shape because they just came out of a different environment. But I've seen on some of those Envoys, I think it's the Envoy, if you look at where the lower radiator hose goes into the radiator, it's really not at the very bottom of the radiator. It's a 3 or 4 inches from the bottom. So what we've seen in higher mileage cars, sediment. And so what you've got, take 100% of a radiator, well, you've got the bottom 15% is restricted, and there's debris and gook and just junk in there, and it's restricting the flow. Sometimes those can be flushed out, and if we identify one that has that, we flush it and flush it and flush it, and that's more of a diagnostic tool than anything to confirm, okay, we've got it out, but we've got 100 and whatever thousand miles on this original radiator. Maybe we should just replace it now that we've already confirmed that we got that it was full of sediment, and get all that stuff cleaned out so you don't turn around and take what was in the block and put it right into your brand new radiator. But we still have to, again, diagnose it because we don't know. And maybe there's not a problem.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know how much warmer than normal he's talking about there. But as far as the belts and hoses and all that, because I'm still arguing with you, is that, those things would have been replaced here in this town 40,000 miles ago. Sure. Chances are. So they've they were okay for that cool climate, but 160,000 miles, it's probably living up there. He's probably got the original hoses on the thing. Yeah. So that's why I'm saying that may be a consideration or something you want to look at. So, hey, we've got a text here about someone who's got a brand new vehicle. It's a Ford, and it's got Ford Flex with 27,000 miles on it. Should I get the transmission serviced with such low miles, no current problems with the transmission? Thanks. And I would say it's changed over the years as the transmission fluids have gotten better. My recommendation as far as what a service interval on the transmission should be, but I don't think if you're servicing it at 3 years or 30, 40,000 miles is necessarily too soon. It's cheap insurance. You don't want to buy a transmission. You really don't want to have to come see me for that. You can come see me for a service, but a lot of times I see these vehicles and Toyota's the one that cracks me up, is that their first scheduled maintenance is at 100,000 miles on some of these trucks. I am literally rebuilding the transmission at 80,000 miles, so I think there fundamentally is something wrong with the logic there that we don't need to service these transmissions. So it's not a bad idea. You don't want to have to buy one. The whole point is if you can run that car to 200,000 miles and never buy a transmission, you're doing well. That brings us to our fact or fiction for the day. Fact or fiction is going to be, Matt, there is 240 million cars and light trucks on the road in the United States.
240 million. What's the population of the U.S.?
Now, keep in mind, I looked that up as well. Or actually, Carrie did and told me. But 319 million people that are accounted for residents.
240.
That's
million.
almost 3/4 of a car per every person.
Yeah, well, I've got 4 in my driveway and 2 drivers, so I could see how they stack up like that. I don't know. Heck. Fact. Is it fact 240 million? I mean, we got show cars, we got fleets. You got to think about that. You know, you've got taxi cabs, and that's
true.
all of them. I guess I could get there.
Yeah, I think, according to this website, it would be fact. So as long as that website's right, it's definitely a fact. I mean, I would take it to the bank. 240 million cars out there on the road. That's almost a car to, well, it's 3/4 of a car to every person that's out there. So anyhow, when we come back, we're taking more phone calls at 602-277-5827. You listen to Matt and Dave, your KTAR car guys on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
In life, there are certain relationships outside of family and friends that are important. For instance, if your car breaks down, you want to have a relationship with an auto repair shop that you trust to repair your car. The same goes for your doctor, your accountant, and your attorney. Why? Because the services they provide involve health and financial decisions, and it's important to hire a trusted professional. This same principle applies to real estate. Hi, I'm Lisa Henry with Russ Lyon Sotheby's International Realty. For most of us, our home is the largest financial commitment and asset we will own in our lifetime. So when you decide to sell, it's important to hire a professional, knowledgeable real estate agent that you can trust to represent your interests and provide the best customer service available. If you would like a consultation to help determine the value and discuss a comprehensive marketing plan to sell your home, please visit my website at lisareneehenry.com. That's Lisa Renee, R-E-N-E-E, Henry.com. Come experience the difference a great real estate agent can make.
Matt and I share car repair tips weekly to help you keep your car safely on the road, and a few of them are easy to do.
Yep, you're right, Dave. And one of the easiest is to have a dependable battery that you can trust to get you started no matter what the conditions.
Interstate batteries are what we trust at Bumper to Bumper Radio. In fact, they're what we use at our own shops for our customers.
If you're like most people, your car is one of your most valuable investments. Make sure you take care of that investment with the power necessary to get you where you need to be. Interstate Batteries are America's #1 replacement brand with the factory fresh guarantee, and they're easy to find at good shops everywhere.
Cars or trucks, Interstate has you covered with long life and performance in our harsh desert climates with products like Megatron Plus. It carries a 30-month free replacement and a 6-year performance guarantee.
Interstate Batteries. No battery lasts longer. Check them out at interstatebatteries.com.
Who can you trust here in the Valley to repair your ride? This is Bumper to Bumper Radio, KTAR News on 92.3 FM.
Well, welcome back to Bumper Radio. I'm Dave Riccio here along with Matt Allen, and we are helping you with your car. We've got Jim on the line and another open one at 602-277-5827, 602-277-KTAR. And I want to get to a couple of these texts, Matt. This customer has a question, this texter has a question, the car guys. How many filters do I have on my CRV vehicle? Man, there's a lot of filters. There's an air filter, there's a cabin filter, there's an oil filter, there's a fuel filter
Maybe
sometimes,
not. Maybe not.
So that's our question, and it's all-wheel drive, and why do I have to buy 4 tires when I have one flat? Well, that's sometimes the bummer of the whole deal, is that when you buy an all-wheel drive vehicle, everyone listen, if you drive an all-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive, not really sure what you have wheel drive, pay attention. If you do have an all-wheel drive, the days of just going and buying 2 tires, you can't do that anymore.
Or even one.
Or even 1 tire. Now, I've heard, and I don't know how much truth there is to it, some places you can buy a tire and they can shave it down equivalent to the other tires that are already there. So maybe that's a possibility. But when you have, 2 new tires on the front and 2 tires that are half worn on the back, it creates a difference as far as the rotation of the wheels, and that will burn.
The rolling radius.
The rolling radius. That'll create a problem for the transfer case, which divides power between the front and rear of the vehicle. So you can't get away with not doing that.
Along those same lines too, if you are going to switch out, if you don't have an all-wheel drive in your car and you need to get a tire, at least if you're going to buy one, get the same tread pattern, try and get the same brand. I mean, imagine walking around in 2 different tennis shoes. You got a Puma running shoe on one foot and a cross trainer from Nike on the other one. It's not going to be very comfortable, or a heel on a flat, or whatever your case is. So you've got to be cautious. And if you have that all-wheel drive, get in the owner's manual, because there are some specs. Some of them say they need to be within 4/32 of an inch. Some are a certain percentage. So you want to make sure that we're following the guidelines of the manufacturer. There's another text here, Dave. Sounds like a student has a 2003 Honda Accord. Just hit 250,000 miles this week. Any tips on keeping it happy to go another 50 before I can finish school?
Don't overheat it.
Yeah, well, what I was going to say is that car, unless you have some transmission go out or an air conditioner compressor go out, those are going to be your big repairs. What's going to hurt that car is you killing it by not taking care of something. Ignoring that little seep on the radiator is really going to take that car that's got 250,000 miles on it and just knock it right over the edge and put it in its deathbed right away. So just make sure there's nothing detrimental happening in the car. Make sure your shop is taking a good look at it each time, and that you're listening to the advice they're giving you, and have them show you so you understand. But whatever you've been doing so far,
seems to
maybe
be
just
working.
Keep doing it.
Well, let's go with Jim in Phoenix on a 2015 Kia Soul. How can we help you, Jim? You're on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you?
Fantastic.
Okay. I back out of my driveway in the morning, all right, and it's about 20 feet. And I put it in a gear, and I go forward, and it shifts hard from first to second. It doesn't do it any other time except for in the morning, first thing, and once it's warmed up, it's fine.
I'm not overly concerned about it. I know when I get out of bed in the morning, I'm a little. It takes me. I got to walk all the way down the hallway before I'm actually awake. But so I'm not really concerned about it, to be honest with you. I know when the car I just got rid of, so we could get my wife a new car, was a Honda Element, and it did pretty much the same thing. I got rid of it at 87,000 miles, and it still had that glitchy 1-2 in the morning. And there was nothing fundamentally wrong with it. It's just an idiosyncrasy.
The only thing, Dave, and I would tend to agree, but this is a 2015. This car is pretty new still. I imagine maybe you're going to the dealer. The thing is definitely under warranty for a while. So, maybe take it to the dealership again and just have them take a look at it. If there is a problem there and it starts to get worse over time, at least you've got it documented now. And have that memorialized on the work order. Just have them check it and have them tell you if it's normal. Okay.
In most of those Kias, I believe they do come with a 7-year, 100,000-mile warranty from the factory. Kias and Hyundais and all that stuff. But yeah, you're right. You can bring it up to the dealer's attention. I just know if it came to my shop and that was it. I'd have to see how weird that 1-2 shift felt. It's like some people say, hey, the first time I pull it in gear in the morning, it shifts kind of hard in the gear. Well, a couple things have happened. The engine RPM is 300 to 400 higher than it normally would be. It is going to shift harder into gear. Or on Toyotas, a lot of times they're very slow to shift up or to lock up the torque converter because they want to get that catalytic converter hot and get that thing efficient as quickly as possible. So the shift strategy changes first thing in the morning. Hey, I want to get to another text here, Matt. He's got 2004 Silverado with 355,000 miles on it and never a major repair, and he's got less than $500 into it maintenance. I think he's missing some of the maintenance he's doing because that's pretty cheap.
That's the guy that might go to the shop and get the list. Gee, guys, I've never had to do anything. How could all this be wrong with 355,000 miles?
Well, I just think of some of the maintenance. Sometimes, at 355,000 miles, you probably bought 2 sets of floor mats. That right there, I'm starting to add that up. But, but it just goes to show, if you do take care of a vehicle, these things go a long time. And sometimes I see people, they bring the car in and they're coming to a transmission shop, so it's a scary place. And, the car's got 90,000 miles on it. It's, I'm considering the value of the transmission and the value of the car and what we should be doing. And so let's find out what's wrong with it first. Obviously, you can't make a decision until you're there. But these cars are built to go a long time. Even if they do ask you for a major repair at 100,000 miles, that means the car's only half worn in if you can get 200,000 or 300,000 miles out of it. So a lot of times, you know, in the reality, I tell people, because I'll call them up and they'll need a $2,500 repair on a car that's worth $6,000. And they'll say, why would I put $2,500 into a $6,000 vehicle? And I'd say, well, that's a great point if you're in the business of buying and selling cars, which you're not, you know. But if you think about it, the same vehicle, if you go buy a brand new, the sales tax alone is $4,500. You know, so you don't want to take a $2,500 problem and fix it with $40,000. That's not necessarily any better math.
Well, in your $6,000 car, it's not a $6,000 car if it's got a bad $2,500 transmission.
That's true.
It's now a $3,000 car. I mean, a lot of times the best used car to buy is your own car. You know the history of it, especially maybe you put new tires and new brakes and stuff like that on it. So at least fix it, enjoy it for some time, because other things happen. Maybe you weren't prepared to buy a car. Now you're going to rush into a bad decision.
Yeah.
You know, and you're going to live with that for another 5 years or more.
Well, people, they'll tell me, I say, okay, so if you don't fix this car, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Well, I'm going to go get a good used car.
You already got one.
Sometimes that's an oxymoron in some cases. What do you expect to spend on a good used car? Well, $6,000. You know, that's kind of a risky proposition. So, anyhow, we're glad you can join us. Thanks, Bree, for running the dials. Matt, you got anything special going on this weekend?
No. Well, my youngest daughter has a dance recital today. She's pretty jazzed up about that. So my wife's working, so I've got to go home and do hair and, you know, get the little ballerina shoes on and all that stuff. It should be interesting.
Are you going to fix your hair for that?
Yeah, my hair got fixed this morning with a Bic, right? All of it's gone.
Matt is Mr. Mom.
I do that a lot, yes.
120, 220, they're all the same.
Yeah, whatever.
Well, I'm not going to be doing any bike riding because I'm sitting here in the sling. I had a little bike crash, so no fun on the bike this weekend. Have a great weekend. Remember never to text and drive.